Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3 Gun Show, brought to you by Armalite. This is episode 128, and I am your host, Dave Hartman. My guests this week are some fantastic people and my squad mates from the Vortex Shooter Source 3 Gun Championship, Bethany and John Harris and Dave Horn. Before we get into the interview, I want to tell you to be sure to listen afterwards for a special offer on Armalite gear, 3 Gun gear, that you'll want to hear. Also, before I get into the interview, right now, I'm recording this from Rock Castle Shooting Center in Park City, Kentucky, the famous Rock Castle Shooting Center, and I am taking part in the Industry Choice Awards evaluation portion. So, what this is, it's an unbiased, non-industry funded award that is given to products in different categories. So, we've got stuff like guns, ammunition, optics, accessories, all kinds of different accessories that you can think of for, anything for that has to do with guns, bipods, etc. And we are, as a group, evaluating each one of these based on a set of criteria. We figure out which ones we like, which ones we don't like, and kind of give feedback on that for the industry. And then they pick winners and present awards to the manufacturers of these products later on in the year. It's in July. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes of what I'm doing right now. And, be sure to, listen in the future, and you might hear some more stuff from some people that were involved in this and people that you know from the 3 Gun game. So in this podcast, we talk about creating lists to prepare yourselves for a match, deciding what you want from 3 Gun, and how to keep it fun. Show notes can be found at 3gunshow.com/episode 128. Now enjoy this one with Dave Horn and Bethany and John Harris. Guys, welcome to the 3 Gun Show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm excited to have you guys, and we have like a fun topic that we're going to be talking about here too. But first, let's get to know each other. Let's have the audience get some idea of who we're speaking with here, and we'll just start on my left. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Dave Horn from Birmingham, Alabama.
Dave, you've been shooting 3 Gun for a long time, and I've known you for a couple of years now. We I think we first shot at Rock Castle together. Actually, I think we all first shot at Rock Castle together. And
was that 3-man match?
Yeah. Their Rock Castle, what do they call it? Rock Castle team match is what they're going with now. So, Dave, when did you get started in 3 Gun? Kind of give us an idea of your background a little bit.
In 3 Gun, I guess I got started in 2012, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'd shot IDPA and USPSA for about 3 years before that, and I've always been kind of a gear whore, and said, 3 Gun, more gear, more stuff I get to buy.
Sweet.
And fell in love with it, and now that's pretty much it.
What was it about 3 Gun that you fell in love with, other than the gear thing?
I don't know, the people, like a lot of people, I started in IDPA. And at the time, I needed that structure.
Mm-hmm.
I was new to guns and I was new to shooting, and I kind of needed the structure of IDPA just because I was maybe a little bit, I don't want to say overly cautious on certain things, but I needed to be told what to do. And as I grew as a shooter and branched out, and found USPSA, and then 3 Gun was even more like, hey, here's a stage, figure out how to shoot it fast. It just sort of, the freedom appealed to me, I guess. The freedom of stage planning and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then all the gear too.
Of course. 3 Guns, all the gear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about 3 Gun too, is the like you said, the freedom, and then it's way less of like a ballet like USPSA is,
mm-hmm.
and it's more of a free for all and pandemonium. Kind of like that.
Yeah, if USPSA is a ballet, it's more like a mosh pit.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, Bethany, how about you? When did you start in 3 Gun, and kind of give us a little bit of your background?
Although I live in Georgia now, I was born and raised in southeastern Pennsylvania, and very much an outdoors family. Always running around outside, camping, fishing, hunting, you name it. I think we really got into the competitive sports, though, when we moved to outside the greater Atlanta area. I decided for self-defense purposes, I was going to start carrying daily. And for that reason, then I started taking a few self-defense classes. Classes led to, hey, if you think this is something you want to do more of on the weekends, come see me about IDPA matches. IDPA led to USPSA. And then at one point it took a crazy turn and someone said, hey, we're having a rifle match this Saturday. Just show up. We'll let you borrow someone's rifle. And I tell you, from that day on, I was hooked.
Really?
Absolutely. You know, it was a beautiful day. We were running around out in the fields, and I just felt like I was a kid again. I thought, you know what? Sitting at home doing laundry versus out here running around, this is for me. This is where I belong. So, you know, from there it led to a shotgun match and one thing to another. And just as Dave said, sooner or later, the camaraderie gets to you, and you start seeing the same people over and over again and wanting to see those folks that you haven't seen across the country for a little while. And it's just a good community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed that with all the traveling that I've done. You know, I see a lot of the people. Actually, you know, we are a good example.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen each other in Kentucky and New Mexico and now Texas, and you know, look forward to it every time. And it's like catching up with old friends. It's like a family reunion
it's
every
a little
month.
reunion.
Yeah,
absolutely. Always under different conditions, which makes it interesting. You know, and sometimes the drunk uncle shows up or the crazy cousin nobody wants to talk about, but they're there too, and they're part of the family.
I'm sitting right here.
Well, that's why I leaned the other way.
And John, how about you? Did you get just dragged along with it, or has competition shooting something you've done for a while?
No, actually, Bethany and I got into it very much at the same time. Very similar for me. I grew up in Tennessee, hunted my whole life, kind of target shooting and plinking around. But when we moved to Georgia, we're very fortunate where we live. A lot of great shooters and a lot of shooting opportunity there. So as people started talking to us and encouraging us to come out, we ended up doing it. We got into it about the same time. Kind of at the end of 2010, you know, we shot a couple one-gun matches, as she mentioned, and then spring of 2011, we had shot one local three-gun match. And spring of 2011, we found ourselves at the start line at Blue Ridge for our very
really?
first. Yeah, Blue Ridge was our very first major, and I mean, the rest is history. After that, we were hooked on it immediately. That type of match is what we tend to gravitate towards now, just because we really did like it, and a lot of it I think is what Dave said. Right, it's the freedom of a match like that. To, hey, where are the fault lines? You see the edge of the earth on the horizon line? That's don't go past there, right? Figure it out, and just kind of grew from there. So 2011, we had the vision of shooting one match at Blue Ridge. We ended up shooting 3 that year.
We did.
Blue Ridge Pro-Am and what used to be the old Ozarks match, and it was the year after that I think we met Dave at Ozarks. We're over at Birmingham, but I think the first major we shot together was Ozarks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Blue Ridge thing, that's one of the things I had trouble with when I was walking the stages. They're like, well, don't get more than 7 yards closer to don't get closer than 7 yards to the steel targets. And I was like, apparently I can't judge 60 to 80 yards. Like, how am I supposed to judge 7? And then why not just put a fault line there?
That one's self-fixing though. If you're closer than 7,
It self-corrects quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, Blue Ridge, I mean, that was an eye-opener. You know, the year before we started shooting all those local matches and learning about the sports. And then we saw on television one night one of the individuals we had taken a few classes from and someone we still call friend. And we watched Eric Lund crawl out of a cave on Rockcastle Shooting Center property and talk about shooting a stage down in a cave. And that night I turned to John, I said, that's what we're doing. Next year we will be at that match. I want to shoot in a cave.
Well, that's awesome.
Off we went. And then the year after that, I had set a lofty goal for myself that the year I turned 40, I wanted to attend and finish the MGM Ironman. And so that was my 40th birthday present, to run out there and do that craziness for a full week. So that was a ton of fun.
How was it?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah?
Loved it. And again, it's that open range, no rules, coaching and yelling at each other during your stage. That, to me, is just a riot. Just too much fun.
Yeah, the coaching part is interesting, and we got to Utah. We shot together in Utah too. So at Hard as Hell, there was a coaching was a huge element of that, and it could be positive or negative. You just had to choose who you listened to as you were shooting.
Exactly.
Yeah, selective
Whereas we
hearing.
like to call it heckling.
Heckling, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But you're right with the ROs out there. It was you had to. Who did you listen to?
Oh yeah, well, and even your squad mates too, right? Because you can offer your squad mates good advice, or you can offer them poor advice, right?
Never. We would never do that.
Not on the clock. Not once the clock started.
Well, so you've been shooting for sounds like 5 to 7 years each, and when you first get involved in like the shooting sports, there is like a competitiveness that gets woken inside. And John, you mentioned it before in the pre-interview. There's like dry fire in your basement. I want to see my name at the top, kind of thing. And did y'all experience that? Was that something
absolutely.
that each of
Sure, I'm part of it. That's just part of the addiction. The first bump is free, and then when you start getting the gear and you start talking to more people and you start taking on more matches and you see progress, you just, well, the next one's going to be better. And you just keep after it.
I think for everybody initially, you got some low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You go through, you do some certain, there's a lot of steps you can take to go from new shooter to fairly competent shooter fairly quickly. And you go through that, and it's exciting. It does kind of start you get a taste for it.
Mm-hmm. I've likened that before to like weightlifting. Like if you just start squatting tomorrow, you're gonna put on like 30 pounds on your back squat pretty fast. So it encourages you to keep that up.
Right.
Then eventually at some point you're like putting on like a pound a week or a pound a month or something like that. So you reach those plateaus. Mm-hmm. Have you ever dealt with a plateau like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How do you power through it?
Ask you tomorrow.
Yeah. There's been different. I've had for me, I've had different experiences with it, whether it be added practice, if it was a certain skill that I just couldn't sort of get better at. And then I've also had times when it was like, well, okay, I'm not very good at this. Practicing this sucks, and it's not fun anymore. So what am I going to do? Well, do something that's fun, and come back to that, or just kind of let it go for a little bit. I know for me, if I'm not getting something and I just try to power through, I'll usually probably just end up, I'm not one who can settle myself and say, okay, think and do it right. I'm one that's just going to get more and more pissed off and just burn more and more ammo and say, all right, you're just burning money. So just kind of stop and find something that's fun to do, and then maybe go back to that.
Mm-hmm. Can you give like a specific example that stands out in your head?
Learning to load a shotgun, old weekend loading. Trying to get, okay, let me get 8 shells below 5.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And you, after a while, your fingers are sore and hurting, and you're like, okay, I can get 6, but I want to go 5.5. Okay, well then that's not fun anymore. You know what's fun? Let me just hose some pistol targets. Okay, that happened a lot loading shotgun. Learn with the old weekend, trying to pick that up.
And so when you obviously switched to like dual or quad loading, did it become fun again?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I switched to deuces now, and it's great because I don't practice them at all. People say, why don't you quad load? I say, because I don't practice. I can load 8 shells in 5 seconds or so, maybe. I don't know, but I can do it. I can do it today, and I can do it in December and not practice between now and then, or still be okay. So it's, it's not a perishable skill, and it is a perishable skill, I guess. But for me, with the amount of time I have to spend on it, that works for me. Because if, going back to the old weekend method, that was very perishable.
Oh, yeah.
You had to, I know there were times where, you practice that every day for 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't, you're yard sailing shells everywhere. Mm-hmm. And as things changed in life, like John had kind of talked about before, I just don't have that kind of time.
Or I choose to spend my time elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, well,
You can make the time, but I think that was the big difference for me on a lot of this is where I choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, managing time and effort in other places, I guess.
Right. So John, how do you choose where to spend your time?
Yeah,
I tell him.
Wow. A lot of truth to that.
If y'all haven't figured it out yet, last name's Harris. For both of them.
No, it's really changed for me, and I will say that I had a very, very high stress job, and ask a couple of people that have shot with me or been on my squad. Right, I spend half my time on my phone or very frustrated. Right, so I've chosen to get out of that job, right, which has allowed me to refocus things back on shooting, right? But I grew up in the outdoors, and things have changed, and I'm spending a lot more time in the woods hunting, and I'm still around firearms. I'm still playing with it, but I'm doing a lot more hunting lately, I'd say in the last year, than I am spending time in my basement dry firing.
Right.
Because, quite honestly, spending time in the basement, doing dry fire or mag changes, it just got boring. where I could be outside and enjoying it, right? And that's just kind of a priority for me. It doesn't mean that I still don't have goals that I set, and I still don't, I still practice when I identify weaknesses, big weaknesses at a match that say, hey, I really need to go tune this up or practice more on it. But I don't know. I think it goes kind of back to that plateau that you talked about, Dave. Is I've kind of realized that with my lifestyle and just where I am willing to put time in, I kind of know I'm that 65, 70% guy. I'm good with that now. Right?
I think there's a point you get to where you get such limited returns from the time you put in that then you put in more. If you put in more time, you think, God, I spent so much time practicing this, and you go to the match, and if you're still not 100% or you don't pull it off, you think, well, that sucks. I just wait. I spent all this time working on it, and I still didn't do it. When you think, well, hell, I could have been watching HBO and eating popcorn, and I probably still could have done it like I did it.
Yeah, and I mean, so many of my friends, I've watched them come up, and they're doing great now, but I know the work they put in to get where they are, and I'm okay not putting that kind of work in. Right? I'm okay going out and having fun.
It's a return on the investment. What do you want to get out of it? And if you're okay only putting so much into it, and you're okay only getting so much out of it, fine. You're in your sweet spot. Have fun.
So I guess it pretty much comes back to, like, what are your goals in the sport, right? Like, if you want to be number one or you want to be top 5 every match, then it's going to take, a ton of dry fire, a ton of live fire, and dedicating working your life around shooting rather than shooting around your life.
I think at this point, for sure. I mean, I know if you look at the guys that will probably be the top 4 or 5 in this match, at least, are spending hours every single day to be where they're at, and that's great. That's great for them. They're but it's not for everybody,
right?
And that's okay. I think that's kind of what.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
I think
each their own.
I think it took us maybe a little while to get to where we're like, yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, so many people are concerned with, like, the outcome of the match, right? And if you've ever read any sort of sports psychology or anything, it's all like, well, don't focus on the outcome, don't focus on the outcome. But man, I run into so many people that really are just focused on that outcome. They want to see the result. They want to see their name up high. They want to beat so and so, maybe a friend or something like that. How do you decide that, like, look, I'm just going to be okay with what I'm at? Like, is there like a come to Jesus moment where you have to sit yourself down and have a talk, or you just kind of?
For me, it's just a matter of priorities. I know that when I get home at 7 o'clock at night, if I have some dinner, if I can fit in a workout, I will, when I haven't been lately. But the point is, I know if I made time and practiced, I'd get better. But the fact of the matter is, I don't want to be in the basement dry firing at 9:30 at night when I know my alarm's going to go off at 4:30 in the morning. So it's just my priorities. It's just my priorities, a comfort with my daily life that keeps this fun. And I think the three of us are especially lucky because the companies who we do choose to represent, they aren't so hung up on seeing our names at the top of those leaderboards. And I think it's just our everyday personalities and just our everyday comfort with ourselves and with our performance and having that fun factor in our lives that it works. It works. There's not a ridiculous expectation that I or anyone else are setting on me that I know that I have to strive to meet. If I want it, sure, I can go after and get it. Fact of the matter is, right now I'm good.
I think to sort of pile on a little bit, I'm not sure how much work it would take for me to be one of those guys at the top 5 because I've never been there. But I know however much it is, I ain't doing it. I mean, when it comes down to it, that's where the point where the sport's not fun for me.
Correct.
For me to spend that much time, maybe if I had an unlimited budget and I didn't have, like other stuff in life to do but I would
bills to pay.
But I think there's a point where it's like, okay, ultimately we're out here for fun and to come out here and, make fun of our friends and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
And the beauty of the sport is there is a little something for everyone. So for those who are chasing that leaderboard, have at it. That's what makes the world go around. That's what makes every match better. That's what makes every stage better because it's fun and we're all out there pushing each other. But, the fact of the matter is not everyone can finish first.
I think the course of last year was my defining moment, right? I felt it coming on at the end of the prior season, but last year I had a couple really rough matches, and I was letting it really get me frustrated. And I was like, man, how could I have not hit that target? How did I, have to let those go? And then it kind of, hey, dummy, because you haven't been practicing, right? You know why.
Right.
This is not a gear problem. You have not been practicing. But let's talk about what you've been doing instead, right? And so at the end of last year, I sat down making goals for 2017, and my goals were significantly different for 17, right? And it was kind of how do I reset myself mentally? And I came off when we shot hard as hell, right? I didn't have a great match there. Didn't have a great first day. I was frustrated at the end of that match. And I did not pick up a gun again until March.
Yeah.
I did not pick up a gun again until March after hard as hell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't even clean them.
But
Put them in the safe,
Well,
shut
that's
the door, and
understandable. I don't
walked
even
away.
clean 'em.
yeah. But it was a good reset for me. It was something that I needed, right?
Yeah, and I think that reset is important. And I mean, even if you are like striving to be that top 5, the reset's important to figure out, what are you going to do to work harder now,
Right.
or have that talk with yourself of like, is it worth paying all this money to fly out this match, to all this ammunition to shoot this match, all my practice, to be pissed off for a weekend.
Right.
There you go.
And then now, like, I'm around my friends and I'm in a bad mood.
Right.
And what does that do for me?
Exactly. Or, you can just kind of evaluate where you are and what you're putting into this, right, and accept the result. And then you say, okay, so I can still go to this match. I can still shoot all that ammo. I can still hang out with my friends, but I'm going into it with a different mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna laugh a little bit, and I'm gonna make a little more fun of Dave, and Bethany will make a little more fun of both of us, and it'll be okay.
So easy. So easy.
Well,
But
go ahead.
I was just going to say the other thing that we've seen over the past 5-6 years that we've been shooting together is the growth of the sport. At one point in time, you didn't have a lot of choice to the type or the location of the matches that you shot. And now there are so many different options that whatever you gravitate towards, whatever you're comfortable with or enjoy, they're out there by the handful. So if you love the short, fast burn, 15-second, stand in one place kind of shootout, it's there. If you like the 1.5 mile open terrain, drag this sled behind you, it's there. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what the three of us definitely helps hold this glue together is that we enjoy those open terrain outlaw 3-gun matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and like you said, there's no shortage of that right now too. There's a bunch of great matches available, and even mixtures of the two. Like I shot the Texas 3-gun championship 2 weeks ago, and they had 4 bay stages and 6 open terrain stages. So
nice mix.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and this morning I woke up, was taking my dog for a walk here on the range at
Triple C.
Thank you, Triple C. Where am I?
This is Texas.
So walk down just to see the bay stages, and there are no bay stages. There's like a dozen bays and absolutely nothing in any of them right now. So we're at a 10-stage match here at the Vortex Shooter Source 3-gun, right? Mm-hmm. And no bay stages whatsoever. Everything's out in the open. It's pretty insane.
You got to love a Jeremy Moore match.
Yeah. We'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah.
Top
we
notch.
haven't shot yet.
Yeah. Run smooth, ton of fun. Definitely going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But there might be popsicles. I'm not sure.
There better be popsicles.
Take it back to something that John said earlier. I'll admit that last year I was definitely in like that same spot where I had 2 matches where I just did not enjoy myself. And looking back on it, I tripped and fell and DQ'd at Blue Ridge. That was tough to deal with, one, because it actually physically hurt once I calmed down. But then, 2, it's like, well, what am I going to do now? And it's like a very expensive match to be in and everything. So, like, that was like a major hit to, I guess, like, sort of my confidence or, like, my overall sense of, like, happiness as far as, matches go and everything. So, I believe the next match I shot after that was Hard as Hell. And going into that match, I was driving out with a friend of mine, and he was expressing some of the same things of just like, so effing stressed out of running all these matches throughout the year. I haven't gotten any time to practice. And, over the 10 or 12 hour drive out there, I was just like, dude, let's just have fun. Let's put no expectations on it. Who cares? We're going to be shooting with all our buddies from Colorado. Let's just have a good time. Let's give each other a hard time.
Yeah. And relax and enjoy it.
Oh my God. And I had a way better match than the previous 2 where I put all that pressure on myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you typically respond and just perform better when you're relaxed and enjoying it and just going with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing. So, the pressure comes from a lot of different places. A lot of my guests have mentioned in the past that there's, pressure because of sponsors, maybe not necessarily directly from the sponsors, but now that you're a sponsored shooter, you feel like you have to perform or you have to live up to the name on your jersey and stuff. Sometimes I feel pressure because of what I do in the 3-gun show. Like, I shoot all these matches. I've, taken classes and everything, and I've had instruction from some of the best shooters on the planet, and then I still suck, right? So, how do you guys deal with that type of pressure?
I don't recognize it. I don't accept it.
I don't deal with pressure.
Yeah.
No, I
think
for me, I put the pressure on myself.
Right.
Right. I really do.
Everything I just said was all self-induced.
Yeah. It's 100% self-induced, and I think I think it is for most people. You just have to realize that, right? Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. Sometimes I deal with it better than others. I know Blue Ridge 2 years ago. Right, I look at these guys to help me manage my stress, and they actually do a really good job. Blue Ridge 2 years ago, I was shooting probably one of the best matches I've ever shot, and our very last stage, we hadn't got to see it ahead of time. We were being a little pressured to get through the stage, and I was the first shooter. And I still had mud in the mag well of my pistol from the previous stage. I still had mud in my rifle mags from the previous stage. And they were like, hey, I need the first shooter, I'm like, I haven't even seen the stage yet. and we were 45 minutes ahead of when we were scheduled to be there.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was starting to panic, and Dave just pulled me around the side of the truck, and he's like, "Hey, you're shooting a great match. The only person putting pressure on you right now is you. You're the first shooter. We're all on you. When you're ready, we'll go shoot." And that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I owe a lot of my stress management to these two, right? Because you guys probably do more than that than you need to, or desire to.
Well, and conversely, I would suspect we might be a good source of your stress from time to time.
Every chance I get. Yeah, I mean, for me, I sometimes think that I probably don't stress enough, almost to the point of being lackadaisical. Just because, like my practice schedule is dubious at best. So I know, I can't expect to come in and put in a top 10 performance or a top 20 performance most of the time if given what the effort I've put in off the range or outside of a match.
Right.
So I know I know I tend to perform better when I am less stressed and when I am more relaxed. My bigger problem is usually, okay, don't just let it all hang. I mean, tighten up a little bit. Be a little focused on what you're doing. So for me, I've almost gone too relaxed a lot of times, where I'm like, I'll be in the middle of a stage, be like, "What are you doing again?" "Oh yeah. All right, shoot here, and all right. Oh yeah, you should probably hurry." And I've seen not to jump on John, but John can get wound pretty tight. And
It's so weird because I have not seen that.
Oh,
and so
you
it just
will.
seems so out of place for me.
Yeah, and he doesn't really. And I guess if you don't know him, you may not recognize it sometimes. But he can get wound pretty tight, and sometimes almost to the point where I'll go to Bethany. "How many shooters should I wait before I talk to John?" That looks like give him 3 shooters. Okay.
Yeah.
They bought me a plaque for Christmas last year. It says, "Calm down." No, seriously, calm down.
Had to have it.
Nothing will piss me off more than someone saying "calm down."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
You mean
spins you tighter.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Exactly.
No.
But that's where this kind of works, because each one of them are at different ends of the spectrum.
Mhm.
We've got Dave on one end and John on the other end, and somehow we all manage to try to find our way towards the even keel middle of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John reminds me that I should probably,
Care more.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I care. I want to beat everybody's brains out every chance I get. But sometimes, I should pay attention here. This is the stage brief. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
important.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
where were you on that stage brief? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you said it, right? That's kind of your mechanism. And it's cool because if you don't put that pressure on yourself, then obviously you don't have that pressure, right? And I think that works well for you. But, yeah, maybe every now and then, just a little focus.
Like the last match we shot when
Yeah.
I was watching Daisy during the stage brief. And there was a key moment in the stage brief where they said, "Step out of this box before engaging these targets." It was 20 targets or something. And I missed that part. So I thought everybody's shooting their shotgun here and then moving up there to shoot. Why don't you just shoot all this stuff right here where you can see it? And I did that. And so
8 procedurals later.
it was more than that. At the end of the stage, I finished the stage with missing a shotgun target, match saving another one and missing that one, and about to put another one in. I said, "Oh, I'll just take the FT and the Argus. Your stage is screwed anyway." I'm like, "What did I do?" Yeah. Then I found out.
That's really bad on our host.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
doesn't
even.
matter.
I'm not even clear. And he's telling me, "Yeah, your stage is screwed." I was like, "Thanks, buddy." But yeah, he's holding the timer like this because he's got all his fingers counting procedurals. Yes, should have paid attention, but
Yeah, it'll happen. I'm a reader, so I I tend not to listen to the stage description, but then I'll ask for the paper afterwards so I can read it myself.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I'm thinking about like, okay, so I just go off in different directions while he's reading or stating it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what was the starting position again?
And they love that.
Oh yeah, port arms.
Port arms ready.
Well, so we walked stages today. You guys, have these stages are pretty straightforward. There's not like a whole lot of tricky things. It's just shoot and move on a lot of things. So what are you guys looking forward to this weekend?
I like yelling at everyone. I enjoy the coaching aspect. Coaching, where we're using air quotes. Coaching.
Yeah, air quotes.
For me, I like performing when others are reminding me of things along the way as well. So some of these stages are really, really fast. You're not going to have the opportunity to help out or coach along the way. But to me, that's one of the really fun things about this style of match is not only is it a beautiful facility and you're just out here running around having fun, but it just builds that much more camaraderie between the entire squad because you don't all have to get quiet while one person's shooting. Mm-hmm. You can just continue to heckle and have fun.
And I think there's a certain sense of it sort of you sort of get tied into the performance of the rest of the squad because, as much as we're giving each other shit, we're also, rooting and looking to help each other also. We're not going to let somebody run by a target and not say anything.
Right.
And it's for everybody in the squad, even the guys, you don't know. So in a sense, I think it kind of it brings the squad together in such a way that you're all wanting everybody to do well because you're all sort of invested in it because you're everybody's yelling at each other to coaching. I think it makes for a really cool experience.
Yeah, I think he's got a great match on the ground, and not just the facility, but these stages as we looked at them, I think it's got everything. Even though they're not in bays, there are definitely speed elements, and then there are some where you want to have a speed element, but there's just enough rope to hang yourself maybe, right? Where it's going to take a little bit of self-control on some of these, but I think there's a really good mix for skill set and for all three guns.
Well, it's funny too because there's a lot of times, or there was at least one time where I heard each of you say something like, "I don't like that," and I did myself, and it just means like that's a challenge for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that's something that I'm not comfortable with.
So you probably saw it. I actually did a blog write-up for the Shooter Source a couple years ago, and you probably saw the element today. Walking stages with the three of us is. We'll walk it, and then we'll talk, and maybe we'll combine some elements, and, oh, hey, I didn't see that. That's a good idea. And then at a certain point on one of these stages, one of us is just going to throw their hands in the air and say, look, you two are nuts. I'll be over here doing my thing, right? And you probably saw that today.
Yeah.
Maybe even a couple times. But that's what works, right?
When John's like, I'm going to load one bird, one slug, then one bird, one slug, then one bird, two slugs.
And the rest
Everyone's
of us like, no.
nope.
Hey, at least I didn't try to put 18 in my gun, Dave.
Hey, my plan was awesome if I had 6 more rounds of capacity.
That's right.
Thanks for stopping me, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, I think that's what works between us is we all shoot very differently, right, to an extent.
I mean, and as far as left to right, right to left, who shoots better standing versus sitting? And
and just the way we see things.
Yeah.
She generally shoots limited, so she's usually shooting a different division, and sometimes, depending on the match, that may be capacity limits, and that kind of always throws us off, and we got to think, that doesn't. You don't listen to this, but it works for us, and it lets us share ideas and look at things differently.
Yeah, there was definitely some things that Bethany was doing, like especially in the backseat of the helo, where I was like, I would never have thought of trying to get in that position.
Right.
Well, that's what the walkthroughs are for. Try to figure it out. Try it all out. You might just hit on something that actually does work. But as much as the three of us shoot together, you always have that ever-building experience together, too, because then you can say, hey, remember the last time you tried that? It didn't quite shake out for you. So let's look at this, Or you could say, hey, you're really good at this. Play that up to your strength. I'm going to do my little safe thing over here.
Yeah.
So there's a wide range.
But see, she's the one that scares us because
Great.
you're the only one that can consistently get away with this, but she's the person that'll watch like one or two people ahead of her do something that none of us saw and go, oh yeah, it's a great idea. I'm going to do that.
I'm going to do that now.
I can't change my plan. Not that soon, but she'll take off and she'll do something and my heart will miss I'm like, oh man, she just missed that target. Oh wait, she took it up there. Hey, that was kind of neat. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But you do that a lot.
You're welcome.
Well, and that's like a style thing, right? That's something you're good at.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily good at it because I think one of the ways, doubling back to an earlier conversation, one of the ways that I mitigate my own stress is that I pre-plan like you would not believe.
Really?
So all these little notes and sketches and doodles of every single stage layout, I have all of these for every match and every stage I have shot since starting this in 2010. And so, I'll take this little...
Are they all on printer paper from the 1980s?
No. Thankfully, I borrowed this one from the rental car. But, I'll take this little sketch pad Mac in the evening and preload my mags for the next day and make sure that I've got my chokes out that I want. And I'll go to bed thinking about the next 3 and 4 stages and walking them through in my head because I'm a very visual person. You had talked about not necessarily listening to the RO, but reading. Yeah. I'm visual. So I literally see my little maps in my head. So it does sometimes surprise me, too, when I decide to go off plan and do something a little untested at the last minute. But knock on wood, it's been okay so far.
I gotta say, I really love sketching out the stages. Like, even if we have like a visual stage layout or something like that, I love sketching them out because it helps me commit them to memory, right? So kinesthetic type learner or
Absolutely.
whatever. The one thing I'm not really good at though is all the pre-planning like you're talking about. Like if John hadn't said meet us on stage 4, this is where we start tomorrow, I couldn't have told you where we start tomorrow. I probably would have figured it out between tomorrow and now, but
that's why I keep him around.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So how does the rest of that pre-planning work? What John was shaking his head, so I imagine there's some stories there.
Well, I mean, it's just keeping the match books and the stage diagrams from every match and stage I've shot over the years, right down to thinking it out, making sure, all right, I've got my coupled mag for here, but I know I'm going to want an extra 30 on my belt, and just, thinking through those stages and having it all laid out the night before.
I think it goes back to one of the earlier questions, though, right? Even like we talked about when we were starting out, right, and the discipline and what we did. It doesn't mean that we just ignore that, right? When we do practice now, she has such a good log book and so many good references that she can go back and say, hey, on this date, my holds were this, and now I've changed ammo and the holds are this, and she can reference all the way back. So there's actually some merit in your record keeping. There,
Thank
I
you.
said it.
Thank you.
And
I think this is being recorded.
But it's paid off a lot. It has paid off for us during practice sessions.
Yeah, because every now and again.
To learn and understand and maybe come back to something or build off of something. Because I'm just the opposite. I'm a wreck. I'm like, what did we do?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just telling, I can't remember, was I telling you or maybe Brian Ray that, like, okay, when I take my rifle out of the bag, I got to remember that the left-right turret's on 1 and the up-down turret's on 6. Why don't I just zero them? And then make sure they're on 0.
Whatever gets you by.
I guess.
Yep.
Goodness. But yeah, every now and again we'll get to a match and we'll start doing the stage walkthroughs. We're like, ooh, we haven't done that in 2 or 3 years. And how did we do that? And what was our hold? And okay, if you're laying on your shoulder under a car shooting off your weak side, what do you do? And I'll pull out the book. I'm like, okay, well, you hold here. Done.
Huh.
And
do you travel with this book?
I do. Comes with me to every match.
Very nice.
Yep. And so that's me being lazy in a way, because, I only feel like committing so much to memory. I've got a lot going on up there. So, cargo space is precious.
We got different definitions of lazy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Glad to see that.
I told you about the turrets, right?
Yeah, so if I write it down, it's there when I need it. I don't have to remember it. I can go back to it.
Nice. So how do you organize your logbook? Is it just everything chronologically, or does it training sessions and matches? And
inside the front cover, it is chronological match, and it has match date, location, finish.
I have like a table of contents?
No.
Oh.
But then past that, then it's broken down by firearm because I count each round. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so I count rounds and I note cleanings and new springs, and I'll keep all those logs. Yeah, he's just rolling his eyes at me. So I have all those logs of every firearm I ever competed with. And then in the back, if I take a class or I learn something special, or sometimes like those very first few 3-gun matches that we participated in, I had a page for each match or each class, and I would write down the really juicy stuff that I learned and stuff that I walked away with. Remember, I got to remember that's some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go back to that very first Blue Ridge Mountain 3-gun match that we shot, and I can read a little description that I wrote about each stage, what went well, what didn't go well, maybe things I should learn and look for next time. And that developed over a couple of years. There was a point where I even created a checklist where when I walk a stage, what do I want to look for?
Oh, no kidding.
Do I need slings? Do I need coupled? And this, again, was just me making sure that I didn't overlook something that the next day was going to cause me stress or panic. Now, fortunately, I've gotten past the really hard checklist. But, yeah, on this little doodle diagram that I'll make of each stage, I'll write across the top coupled mag, rifle sling, 3 pistol mags, light mod choke. And that way, when I roll up to that stage the next day, I can pull out exactly the kit of parts that I need and be a little more prepared and a little more calm and take an extra moment to walk through again.
Mm-hmm.
So the booklets are just a combination of all of that stuff that's collected in my head over the past 6-7 years, written down. It's quite scary.
That's pretty impressive. Do you do that for other things?
No.
No?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, he's pursing his lips. I am a list person. I like to make lists. So whether it be shopping lists or to-do lists or even at work, yeah, I like, because the top of the list, the first thing is always make a list. Okay, I'm done.
Yes.
That feels good. Completion. But yeah, I just organize myself that way.
Dave's cracking.
No, it's funny because by contrast, John's going to lose a pistol mag 3 times this match.
And that's stage 1.
Yeah. And it's funny to
The banter?
Well, but it's funny to watch. Bethany is extremely organized, and she has
my pistol mags go here, my rifle mags go here.
Yeah, and the way she's got, the way she marks her mags, the way she has marks on her guns she uses a lot of visual cues. And I used to just be like, why do you have all this shit all over your guns? And then, and she told me, and now I find myself when I go to matches without them, I'm like, oh crap, how am I going to know the distances? Where's Bethany?
Where's her little sketch pad?
I'm going to have to do this myself.
Yeah, that's it definitely helps when you travel with a crew and you know that crew, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It makes it so you don't have to bring one of everything or remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Definitely.
always
We know Dave's going to have beef jerky. And now I'm going to have the distances written down. What do you bring? What do you bring to the table?
Anything you guys forget. It is nice when you travel a long distance, though, right?
Yeah.
Especially we share so much gear, right? And Rocky Mountain, I think, was a good example because we knew it was going to be, a lot of mags and this and that. And okay, talk about who's going to take what mags and just share, right? Less stuff that each of us has to carry and whatnot. So yeah, shooting with friends and teammates, I think it's just a much better deal.
Right.
Yeah, so you two are down to the same belt system now, which helps
Yeah.
too, because you can readily available
yeah.
switch out gear and carriers and things. So that might be next on a to-do list for me.
That's one of the things I really like about the ELS, and it's one of the reasons I got the ELS is because almost everyone I shot with back home had an ELS.
Right.
And then my one buddy that I travel with, he's like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna get the TMMS." Like, we can't be friends anymore, dude.
That's not how this works.
Exactly. I already
not
committed
how
to
any
this.
of this
God damn it.
So you can share gear with Bethany tomorrow. Dave
Yeah.
and I are running TMMS, and she's running ELS.
Well, you guys are wrong. Bethany, I got your back.
That's right.
Whatever you need.
Thank you. But it's even getting to the point, the shotguns now are all similar. Pistols are all similar.
Yep.
And we're getting down to the ammo. So it'll be an easy fix when we can just start handing each other's mags and be spot on and know what our dope is. So
Yeah, stuff like that really helps
easy
out.
peasy.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to I got to witness that. Probably not intended, but with the Yackleys, Sean Yackley got to the end of a really long stage of Rocky Mountain, realized he didn't have any rifle ammo with him, and so he runs all the way back to the start and just grabs a mag off of Mark's belt as Mark's getting ready. He's like the on-deck shooter. He just grabs a mag and then runs back and ding, ding, ding. It's like, oh, it's probably good to have the same ammo.
Yeah. Or the same bolt carrier. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So, okay.
What?
Sounds like there's a story there.
It was a charging handle.
Charging handle. Well,
yeah.
I was the on-deck shooter at Rocky Mountain last year, and I was walking, like the RO was calling me to the line. I was walking up, and I went to lock my bolt back, and I'm like, well, that's funny. Charging handle won't. Oh, it's broke. And he's like, come on,
Like
we're
the
ready.
retention or?
Like I had a Badger latch on it,
Oh,
so
yeah.
the latch had just sheared off. So the handle wouldn't lock into place. And
It's whacking you in the nose.
yeah,
every
so the
round.
RO's kind of waving me down. He's like, come on, we got to get you set. And my charging handle wouldn't work, and I couldn't get my bolt locked back. And the AMU guys had just showed up to scope out the stage for the next day, and Joel leans over and he kind of whispers in my ear. He's like, hey, dude, that's bad.
Thanks, genius.
I was like, thanks, Joel. And Bethany was there, and your gun was laying there. I'm like, hey, I need your charging handle. She says, you need my? She says, I shoot right after you. I'm like, I'll give it back. So I'm looking at the RO, kind of holding up my hand, like, hey, just 1 second, be right with you. And he
Little bit
sees
of
me playing
gunsmithing.
with guns. I walk down. He goes, you got everything you need now? I said, I hope so.
Yeah. Yep, bolts in
Yep.
there.
Yeah, but we got through it.
That was a funny stage. It was a stage that you
You
sprawled out on the bush.
Yeah, I got my foot hung in a bush, and you guys are back there taking a selfie with me stuck in the bush, like videoing it.
Classic. That was a good stage.
Well, those are the type of things that would, might get in your head and not allow you to enjoy yourself because if you're focused on the outcome, right?
Right,
So,
right. But the joy of electronic ears. As I'm shooting, I hear them laughing, and I know that my boot is physically stuck in this bush because I'm trying to shake it out, and I can hear these two and Jeremy back there just laughing. And when I jumped up to run to the next position, I kind of out of the corner of my eye, they're all just doubled over laughing. I see all their phones out. I'm like, oh,
This can't be good.
this is never going away.
Yeah, you got to paint the picture. I mean, your boot wasn't just stuck in the bush. Your boot was stuck in the bush over your head. So you were laying prone
Like
shooting.
face down? Or?
Yeah, it was like a little
face down
downhill.
prone?
Yeah.
Doing downward dog with his 1 foot stuck up on the top of the bush.
Downward dog.
There was probably way too many laughs at my expense at Rocky Mountain last year. Shooting the sunflower.
Oh, that was a good one.
So you didn't shoot the match. You were out there, right?
Yeah.
So they had the targets that the flashers were painted black and the backers were yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to shoot off that ladder, the reverse facing ladder or stairs. So I get up there, I get settled in on the first target, crack the shot, nothing. Crack another one. RO doesn't say anything.
And of
crack
course,
the third shot.
We're all there to coach, and we're watching the first target intently.
Well, you can't coach there.
Well,
You're just standing there with your mouth shut
true,
like you should
true.
be. but there's just silence, and I'm like, man, that was a really good hold. I'm in a solid position. I don't understand. So I sent like 2 more rounds at this stupid target. I'm like, I don't get it. So I kind of readjusted a little bit, and I get set, and I said, moving, and the RO said, are you going to shoot the same target? And it was just the inflection in his voice. I kind of looked up over the scope, and I realized now I was indexed on the actual target. Before that, I had been shooting at a great big black rock surrounded by sunflowers. I'm like, no, I'm not shooting the same target, Scott. I'm going to shoot a target this time. Yeah, so way too many moments at Rocky Mountain that the laughs were at my expense.
Did you hit the rock?
Oh, yeah. I
killed the
murdered
shit out of the rock.
I murdered that rock.
Oh, my God. Well, and you can laugh about it now. Were you laughing at it then?
I actually was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were still giggling at yourself shooting the other targets.
Yeah, probably on the clock. I know Scott was laughing at me, too.
And then Dave, we entice you to move faster by talking about food.
Yeah.
So there's usually the occasion where we like to run like there's donuts.
Yeah. I've
The
got
hot lights on.
Yeah. God, that has happened a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here last year, Rocky or at Hard as Hell.
Yeah. At Rock Hard, you did it.
Yeah.
I like donuts.
You do?
I do. I got
You got a thing?
I got a thing for donuts. Donuts and tacos.
I like tacos.
Yeah.
We could wreck some tacos.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We were shooting a team match, and you needed to be your last shooter as you all moved together. Your last shooter in that progression needed to be past a certain point before the first 2 shooters could begin firing. And so we came up with a code word. So as the last person moved past that marker, we yelled, taco, taco, taco. And then that's when the other 2 people knew to start shooting.
Code word taco.
Yeah.
How did that work?
It worked
It
great.
worked
was
great.
a charm. Yeah.
It worked really good.
Yeah.
So to this day, on occasionally, you might just hear us blurt out, taco, 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 just because.
All right, so I'll listen to that I'll listen for that this weekend. So, well, we've established that there's all kinds of different levels in 3-gun, different ways to think about the game, different ways to take it seriously, different levels of seriousness, and depending on what your goal is and what your focus is, that helps determine how much effort you put in, and also determines the outcome, and not vice versa. So let's try to finish this off here. We'll go around and get a final thought. John, we'll start with you. What do you want to leave the audience with as far as like a message to carry with them for their own 3-gun practice?
Yeah, no, I think it comes back a lot to what Bethany said about the growth of the sport, right? As I look around and I see so many people coming into this sport, I think they just need to realize that there are other ways to look at it and approach it, right? And just like there's matches that suit everyone's goals and desires, there are people out there to help you at whatever level you want to be, right? It shouldn't discourage you. Dave, you said it. There's some people out there today that are spending hours a day, and they're sharing that knowledge, right? They're putting it out there on social media, YouTube, and it's great for the beginner that wants to strive or get those skills up initially. But you know what? If you just want to come out on the weekend and maybe shoot a local match, or whether it's budget or vacation, whatever limits that you can only get to 1 major a year, make it what you want to get out of it, right? And just be honest and know what your expectations and your wants are, and know that there's ways to achieve all of that, right? But you always hear people say, hey, you got to have fun, and I truly believe that, right? But I think that should be at the core of it. Everything above that, you can turn it into a job. You can make it work, and that's okay if that's what you want. But if you want it to be fun, make it fun.
I like it. That's a great final thought. Bethany, how about for you?
I guess for me, parting words of wisdom would be play your game. As a sport grows, there are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of good people out there. There are a lot of different ways of doing the same thing. So, honor words of wisdom that are given to you and maybe try something out and practice. But when it comes down to something on the clock, play your game. And I'll be the first to admit that I've got certain safety zones that specifically at a match, and more particularly because I know I don't practice as much as I should or could, there are certain things that I'll do just because I know it's safer for me. And, it's that risk-reward balance. And for me, I would rather play my game and play to my strengths than do something that I just know everyone else is doing. That must be good. That must be the right thing to do. And so you may have heard it walking stages with us today that there's times where these guys are going to quad load or take something on the run as they're moving. And for me, I know my best game right now is if post up, shoot, sprint. Post up, shoot, sprint. And that's going to be my best foot forward. So, I'll still practice different things when I get the time and the notion. But until then, I'm playing my game. I'm doing the Bethany thing.
I like it. Dave, how about for you?
I think kind of just to play a little bit off what John said is sort of be honest with yourself and your goals. What are your goals for the sport? Are your goals to, is this a hobby? Is this something that you want to do, to take your mind off your normal job or what, is this something that you want to be really good at? Is this something you potentially want to try to compete at a higher level at? Or is it strictly a hobby? And however you answer that question is fine. If you just want to say, yeah, I just want to go out maybe a couple of times a month and have fun. Well, cool. Remember that though. Remember when you come out and have fun and keep it fun. Don't let set your goals and kind of stick to them. I guess that sort of keeps everything in line. If you set your goals, I'm going to go out and have fun, but you're not really being honest with yourself, and you really want to do better, and you really want to go out, and you really want to, it's important to you to see your name higher up the score sheet. Well, then you're gonna have to take a different approach. But kind of set those goals going in, and you'll know where you're going from there.
I like it. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this weekend to shoot with you guys and see if you are any fun as you claim you are.
We're funny to ourselves. I don't know if anybody else ever enjoys it.
If you don't think we're fun, Dave, it's just because you don't get it.
I will review you on Yelp afterwards. So. Well, guys, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and John for bringing up this interesting topic. And again, looking forward to having a great weekend with you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I mentioned earlier that this episode is brought to you by Armalite. Armalite has chosen to sponsor the show for the 2017 season, which I'm really grateful for. And as part of that, we try to figure out a way that we can make a big benefit for you as the listener as well. So Armalite has allowed me to get special pricing for you on their line of 3-gun rifles, both the 13.5 inch with the pin muzzle brake that brings it to an overall length of 16 inches, and the 18-inch rifle as well as their competition handguards, gas blocks, and their tunable muzzle brakes, which is really cool. So if you're in the market for a 3-gun rifle or components to build your own, email me at dave@3gunshow.com and I can get you pricing. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.
They should know her. Hopefully they recognize you.
Hopefully.
Maybe not.
I put my hat on. If that helps for a podcast, people might recognize me.
Are you known for your headwear or what?
She's not known without it.
Yes,
that's for sure.
I have learned that as soon as I take my shooting glasses and hat out, ponytail down, hair down, a little bit of makeup, people do not know who I am.
Really?
It can get very entertaining because I can sneak up on folks and have some awesome conversations, and they have no clue.
Have you seen that bitch, Bethany?
Rob Romero came up to me at Rock Castle. This was like the second year we were shooting, and she was at dinner one night. She didn't have her hat or glasses on, and she'd taken a shower and was cleaned up. And Rob came up to me, and he pulls me aside. He goes, "Dude, I thought you were a rock star." He said, "I thought you brought your wife and your girlfriend." He said, "I didn't realize who that was."
Yes, it's fun. You didn't share your frozen banana story.
No frozen bananas this
Still
morning.
recording.
So last year at this match, we were driving around. Well, we came out to the
funny,
range.
it's going to be on the bonus.
We came out to the range. We left for the range that morning, and I grabbed the little kind of to-go breakfast bag from the Hampton Inn, and it had a banana in it. And I was like, "That's cool." Put the banana in the door of the car. I'm like, "I'll eat the banana later." So we come out to the range. We drive around. We go to dinner. We come back. We all go in. Got a good night's sleep. Wake up the next morning early, and I'm like, "Hey, I need to go get gas in the car before we head back to the range." So I walk out into the hotel parking lot, and I'm like, "Why are the windows all freaking fogged up in the car?" And I get closer, and I'm like, "Holy shit! I left the car running all night in the parking lot." So I opened it was like a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I opened the door, and the AC was just blasting on max all night with the vent pointed down at the door, and the banana in the door was frozen because it sat there for like 8 hours with the AC blasting on it in the parking lot. Stupid push-button cars.
I can't believe it was still there.
Well, it was locked. That's the. It was one of the push-button ones.
Oh, yeah, the proximity key.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it locked,
but it kept
running all night long.
That's why we don't allow him to go anywhere without adult supervision.
I remember walking out of the hotel at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, "Damn, John, God, he's early. We'll shoot for like 2 hours." And then I see him come back. I'm like, "Where are you guys?" I had to go get gas. I'm like, "Huh?" No, he went. I didn't get the full story right then.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready to share.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
Well, John, Bethany, is it true that you're Katie Harris's parents?
Ask Joel Fox.
There is still, I swear, there is still a contingency somewhere in the middle of Alabama that swears I am her mother.
Yeah.
They just don't understand when I say, no, that was a joke, that it was just a joke, and that this isn't the joke, that was the joke.
So that was actually a big part of us getting started, right, is her dad owns the range that's our home range.
Katie's dad?
Katie's dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people thought that
because of the Harris name.
Because
right?
of the Harris name, right? Absolutely no relation, just sheer coincidence.
I actually, for like the first several months I knew them, thought they were like cousins or something. And then finally, so y'all aren't related at all? No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And poor Joel Fox, I thought like everybody realized after a while, right? It was like 3 years down the road. We were at the Alabama sectional, and it was like 3 years until Joel Fox really realized, hey, it's not true. And he's like, liars, you're both liars. We're like, we never said. You assumed.
People assumed. Well, Katie running around a range calling me mom didn't help there for a little while either.
Right.
But yeah, being the only two ponytails at some local matches there for a while, and there were occasions where John and I would drive her to a match with us, or she and I would drive off for the weekend on a training exercise, whatever the case may be. That we got really close, and so it was just natural for people to assume that. Mm-hmm. And then they,
especially when you make her sack lunch and sign her permission slips,
right? Make her do my chores. That would have been lovely. But yeah, and then people, as she started getting really, really good, people would say, "Oh, you're taught her well." I'm like, "Oh no, no, that's not me. I'm learning from her." So, yeah, it was an interesting couple of years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one of those early moments, right? When you're practicing and you're trying to get better and your goals and improving. And I finally beat Katie in a match, and I think it was like 2 weeks later she turned 12. And that was the last time I ever beat her.